council meeting, and the public proceedings will take place live on the internet. The meeting will be recorded. It will assist the conduct of business if participants speak only when invited, and I shall adjourn the meeting if necessary if protocol is not observed. Members of the public are welcome to view the proceedings, but should not make their contributions during the decision-making process. All members of the committee have received the reports in advance and had the opportunity to read them. The reports are published on the internet. Additional documents, known as the pre-committee notes, are available on the Council's internet site and have been emailed to the members and public speakers. These should be read in conjunction with the main agenda documents. They are fully taken into account before decisions are made. Applications will be dealt with in the order they appear on the agenda. I will invite applicants, agents and public speakers who have registered to speak at the appropriate time. All speakers must ensure that they do not overrun their 3-minute time limit. There will be no questioning by the committee of objectors, supporters, applicants or agents who will not be able to speak again. All participants should mute their microphones and video feed when they are not speaking. Please remember to unmute your microphone and switch on your video feed when it is your turn to speak. Speak clearly and slowly into your microphone. The chat function on Microsoft Teams should only be used by the members of the committee and officers. This is to assist me with the conduct of the meeting. Members of the public should not use this function in any capacity. This is being monitored and has a full audit trail. Anyone found to be using this function will be removed from the meeting. If there are registered speakers on an application, the officers will present the report. Registered speakers will be invited to make representations one at a time, and members of the committee will be asked if they want to speak on the application. If there are no registered speakers on the application, the officers will be asked if they have anything further to add. Members of the committee will be asked if they want to speak on the application or if it is to be moved straight to a decision. The committee will then be invited to make a decision on each individual application. When a matter is put to a formal vote, I will ask each member of the committee individually to record their vote. Finally, I ask for everyone's patience with the use of this technology. I apologise in advance if we experience any unforeseen difficulties, which we shall try to resolve straight away. When the item of which you have contributed is concluded, you may leave the meeting by using the red hang up button if you wish. Are there any apologies for absence?
No apologies, Chair.
So no appointment of any substitute members. Are there any declarations of interest under the Members' Code of Conduct? None. And can I confirm and sign the minutes of the meeting held on the 10th September 2020 as a correct record?
Yes, Chair.
So onto the plans and applications. So moving on to planning application P200437. Emily, over to you.
Thank you, Chair. The application relates to the Shenstone Club located on Kent Road and seeks approval for the demolition of the existing vacant building and erection of 3 detached dwellings. Officers recommend approval of the application subject to conditions. The site is set in an elevated position fronting a private road contained within the site boundary that runs parallel with Kent Road. The site is currently occupied by a vacant building, formerly used as a social club, and is surrounded by hard standing. At the rear, the site forms part of a wider LISO's Grade 1 registered park and garden and is also designated as a landscape heritage area. The wooded area which also falls within the site's boundary, is also a slink and SSSI. The site also falls within the greenbelt, which includes part of the building and hard standing. There is an existing Article 4 direction controlling new fencing and boundary treatment, which also falls across part of the site. The surrounding area is predominantly residential, with a row of adjacent properties to the south being commercial, with some residential above. Southeast is a small residential premise and roundabout located towards Spies Lane, Carter's Lane and Manor Lane. To the south of the site, the closest commercial property is 101 Kent Road, which is a cafe bar, with an external seating area fronting Kent Road. This use was approved in 2017, and notably the use of the front aspect was considered by officers in relation to the impacts on surrounding residential occupiers. Given the setting adjacent to existing commercial properties and the increased road noise from Kent Road, it was not considered that substantial harm would arise from noise within this area to warrant refusal of the application. Whilst objections have been raised in respect of the increased traffic movements arising from the development that could impact upon the enjoyment of users of the external seating area serving the bar, given the proximity to a busy main road and the site's previous use as a social club, which could have received significantly greater vehicle movements, it is not considered that refusal on this impact would be reasonable or justified. Furthermore, in terms of the impact of the use of the bar on future occupiers of the development, the nearest habitable window of the proposed development would be a minimum of 14.5 metres away. Given that the potential background noise from Kent Road would screen any noise from this existing area, it is worth noting that a condition requiring a scheme for protecting residents from road noise has been included as part of the recommendation. It is subsequently not considered that the existing commercial operation will have a detrimental impact upon the amenity of future occupiers. The proposed buildings follow the existing scale and pattern of development along Kent Road, resulting in a development that is sympathetic in form with the surrounding area. There will be no contravention of the 45-degree code, and it is not considered that the development will give rise to any detrimental impact upon the amenity of adjoining occupiers of both Kent Road or Shenstone Avenue to the rear of the site. As mentioned, at the rear of the site, part of the gardens will fall within the greenbelt, the conservation area and the Article 4 direction. Given the existing makeup of the site, with this aspect currently containing part of the existing building and associated hard standing, the inclusion of gardens is not considered to cause harm to the open character of the greenbelt. Furthermore, the gardens would also follow the existing pattern of development along of properties fronting Kent Road, and subsequently it's considered that this development of previously developed land would represent special circumstances that overcome the potential harm to the greenbelt. Notwithstanding this, officers have recommended to remove permitted development rights by way of condition to prevent any inappropriate development within the greenbelt. An access is proposed at the rear of the site from Shenstone Avenue, which will be used solely for access to maintain the land at the rear, and conditions have been included within the recommendation to secure details of the future maintenance of this parcel of land. The access to the site is achieved from Kent Road and utilises existing private access. It is noted that objections have been received in respect of the use of this private access road. However, in terms of the highway safety concerns raised, the access to and from the public highway, Kent Road, is existing and is not being altered as part of the proposals. The old club building had approximately 50 car parking spaces and could generate significant trip volumes, admittedly outside peak hours. When operating at full capacity, up to 150 movements a day, plus 2 HG deliveries per week from the brewery and food supplies. Subsequently, the proposed residential development would generate significantly less vehicle movements than previous use, and as such, the development raises no significant highway safety concerns. Officers are satisfied that the access, as described in the application, would not give rise to significant highway safety implications. We have also agreed a condition to secure details of a construction method statement, which includes details of a scheme for making good any damage to the private access road following the completion of the development, which shall be completed prior to the first occupation of the development. You can see here a close-up of the existing access, which is approach from the south, from the roundabout to the south of the site. We can also see here the the existing lounge area, external lounge area of the bar and the relationship with the existing site. Again, this is just an aerial view showing the existing access into the site with the site, this element of the picture. Vehicular traffic would come up from the roundabout from Kent Road and in and out of this access. See, this is the existing parade of shops with some residential properties above these commercial uses. Again, we could just see the relationship of the external seating area here, and it's also noted that it's set back slightly from the access to Kent Road, as demonstrated by a car that was parked when this photograph was taken. You can just see here the relationship with the wider site. And this is an existing footpath that runs from Kent Road to the rear Shenstone Avenue. This is just a view of the access road looking towards the parade of shops and the roundabout that leads to Spies Lane, Carters Lane and Manor Lane. This aerial view shows you the existing building and its relationship with 97 Kent Road. Officers are satisfied that the relationship with the proposed buildings will provide a significant betterment in terms of the relationship of the existing building on the site and the occupiers of 97 Kent Road. And here we can just see 97 Kent Road and the private access road that runs parallel to Kent Road, which is screened by these existing trees. This is another view towards the site with the existing buildings and 97 Kent Road. As officers have said, it's considered that the design of the buildings is very sympathetic in scale, form and design with existing properties, particularly along Kent Road. You can just see here the existing relationship between the Shenstone Club and the adjoining property, 97 Kent Road. This just shows you a view at the rear of the site where there will be an access to the rear of one of the properties that leads around to the land at the rear, which will be used for maintenance only. This is served from Shenstone Avenue. Just to remind you, officers' recommendation is to approve the application. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Emily. Can I call on Mr. Gregory to speak?
Thank you. Good evening. My name is John Gregory. I'm a planning lawyer instructed by the owners of business premises at 101 Kent Road, the cafe bar just mentioned by the planning officer. My clients object to the application on two grounds. The first relates to the access and the second to the immunity of both future occupiers of the development and patrons of the cafe bar. So firstly, in respect of access, our clients' premises include a wine bar on the ground floor, and included within their ownership is the part of the service road which is now proposed as development. However, the part of the service road owned by our client is not adopted and does not form part of the public highway. Further, there are insufficient private rights over the service road to enable it to be used as an access to the new development. Now, whilst we note the comments in the officer's report regarding materiality of this point, the fact that the site cannot be lawfully accessed as proposed is clearly a concern, and it speaks to whether this is a cohesive and properly considered scheme. We note that in their comments document dated the 24th of August, the Highway Authority state, and I quote, heavy construction damaged the existing driveway, and therefore the applicant is requested to resurface or reconstruct the service road. Future liability could then be extended to all residents crossing this driveway. The first point to make here is that the applicant has no legal right to carry out the required work. Secondly, if it did, the council will need to ensure that both the resurfacing work and the requirement for occupiers to contribute to maintenance are secured by way of condition. In summary on this point then, the site cannot lawfully be accessed in the way proposed, and it's doubtful that the applicant will ever have sufficient control over the land to facilitate the access or carry out the required improvement works. Now, even if sufficient rights over the service road were to be obtained, the upgrade and intensification of use by either construction traffic or residents of the new development would be harmful to the outside amenity space enjoyed by the wine bar through both increased noise and emissions. In this respect, we refer members to the consultation response from the Council's own environmental team, which states that the site is affected by high levels of traffic noise and mechanical ventilation will be required to habitable rooms to enable windows to be kept closed. 2 points arise from this. Firstly, that the scheme will exacerbate the levels of noise and pollution already identified, causing harm to our clients' premises in already uncertain times, and during a period where the use of outdoor spaces is likely to be more important than ever for a licensed premises. Secondly, given the clear direction of travel in the government's planning white paper is a focus on homes which provide a high level of amenity to residents, we ask that members consider carefully whether it is appropriate to grant consent for homes in which the windows will have to be kept closed due to harmful levels of noise and pollution. Finally, I would add that our client has spent time and money attempting to engage with the applicant in relation to these issues, but has not to date received a substantive response. For these reasons, Chair, our client respectfully invites members to refuse the application. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gregory. Can I now call on Mr. Ike to speak, please?
Hello, good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to speak this evening. My name's Peter Ike. I'm the partner at Gould Singleton Architects. We represent the applicant for the site, Tamar Homes. Firstly, I'd like to thank the officers for the report, which we strongly endorse. The scheme proposed is to replace the redundant Shenstone Club with 3 new 4-bed dwellings and associated garages, parking and amenity, all designed to be in keeping with the local area of Kent Road and Shenstone Avenue. The designs prepared for you fully comply with Dudley's Council's standards for residential development in terms of size, separation, privacy, amenity, car parking and access. The access road on the front of the site was previously used by the Shenstone Club and has been for a period of over 50 years. It would be seen when the club was open that more than 50 vehicles a night were using the car park accessed from Kent Road over the access in front of number 101. I think it was clearly understood that there was a right of access established over the access road. The 2 properties adjacent to the site also use the access and have done for a number of years. Our client firmly believes, having discussed and consulted with a number of solicitors on the project, that they have the right of access across the road. Notices have been served and there has been no response from the advertisement that was placed in the newspaper for unknown owners across the access. Indeed, our owners, our clients, the applicants, have indeed written and tried to engage with the neighbours' solicitors, and again, we've had no response to comment on. The dwellings proposed occupy 3 plots of land on their legal deeds, and the legal deeds actually extend over the access road. So it is proven by the legal position that the rights of access are covered under the property ownership. Access from Kent Road itself for the development will actually be much reduced with the new 3 dwellings from the previous club use, which presently the service road in front of 101 allows. Visitors at present to the area come to the hairdressers, the vets, the chip shop, the gift shop and bar 101, all using the access road and leaving on the junction with Kent Road. The noise issues concerning the site are actually due to the noise from traffic that already exists from a busy roundabout junction, a co-op, a pub on the corner, and previous uses along that area. There are conditions proposed that will deal adequately with noise pollution, as seen quite often on residential properties and not unusual. Planning conditions have been tabled with our agreement, and various details concerning boundaries, tree protection, woodland management have been dealt with. We have agreed for access off Shenstone Avenue to be widened using the existing access gate and to retain maintenance access only to the rear area for access to the woodland and the nature protected area. Materials on the development are appropriate.
Time, Chair.
Thank you. And thank you, Mr. Ike. Emily, would you like to come back on any comments that were made?
Thank you, Chair. Just a couple of points to pick up on. The issue of rights over the highway is largely regarded as a civil matter. So in planning terms, what we would be expecting as part of an application is that the red line goes up to the public highway in accordance with the requirements of the National Planning Practice Guidance. That's been met. They've also served the correct notices and completed the application forms correctly in accordance with the relevant planning legislation. So in terms of the access to the site, as I alluded to in the presentation, we are satisfied that the access in relation to planning terms, so the planning merits of the access, is acceptable in highways terms. So the matter of ownership and rights falls outside of our planning remit. So that's just something that I would like councillors to bear in mind when they are making their decision. In terms of the ongoing maintenance of that private access road, again, it wouldn't be reasonable or enforceable for us to include a condition that requires the future occupiers of that development to maintain the private access road in the long term. That's not something that we would usually include in a condition, and certainly I would not consider that kind of condition would be reasonable or proportionate to the development. It's also worth pointing out that in the environmental safety and health team comments, whether Tim Glues wants to come in on this, but they say that mechanical ventilation may be required. And what we are asking for as part of the condition is that a scheme is undertaken and submitted to us to demonstrate that the amenity level within the dwellings is satisfactory for the level of noise that arises from Kent Road. And in terms of the amenity of future occupiers arising from the relationship with the bar, as I alluded to in my presentation, one of the things that was noted as part of the previous application that approved the bar, the cafe bar, in 2017, we did actually pay regard to properties that were significantly closer to that area, and we found that it was acceptable without requiring any further mitigation. So again, I don't think it would be reasonable for us to refuse the application on that ground, given that we supported that proposal with residential properties closer, and they're sited above the existing parade of shops. I think that's everything that I wanted to comment on. So thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Emily. So now I will open up to the floor. So do we have any councillors within the committee that would like to ask a question or make a comment? Councillor Burston.
Yes, thank you. I don't have a problem with this development at all. As has already been mentioned by Emily, it complements the existing Kent Road street scene. It also makes use of a redundant site. So I think it's a good thing. So I'm happy to support it.
Thank you, Councillor Burston. Would anybody else within the committee like to make a comment or ask any questions, or are they happy to go straight to the vote? Councillor Taylor.
Thank you, Chair. Can you just clarify, because I've just looked at this on Google Maps and because I wasn't aware where it was, although I'd seen it in the book. Is there no rear access to this site? Because when Emily was showing us the site, it looked as if there was a road at the back. Is there rear access on this site, or is it just one way in and one way out? That's all I want to clarify.
Emily?
Thank you, Chair. There is an access at the rear from Shenstone Avenue, but that will solely serve the area of land that falls within the LISO's registered park and garden. And for that reason, the reason that we've got that included is because that does need ongoing maintenance and it falls within the application site. So we've had to secure a number of quite stringent conditions in respect of the management and the maintenance, and obviously access would be required to that. In terms of whether it would be appropriate to have wider access, given the incredibly sensitive nature of this site with the proximity to the Greenbelt, the conservation area, the Article 4 direction, the SSSI, the SLINK, and the LISO's registered park and garden, there was previously a dwelling situated at the rear of the site, and we could not support that, so that was omitted from the plans. The layout that's proposed with the access from Kent Road and this private access is considered to be the most suitable development for this site, and certainly the one that we can support. So I hope that clarifies that position for you. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Emily. Thank you.
Thank you, Emily. Councillor Burston, did you want to come back in, or did you just left your hand up?
I've probably left my hand up. Let me lower it. There you go. Sorry about that.
So any more comments, or are we happy to make a decision? Okay, so first of all, Councillor Bradley.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Approve.
Councillor Ahmed.
Approve, Chair.
Councillor Hanif.
I'm happy to approve, Chair.
Councillor Harley.
Approve.
Councillor Taylor.
Approve, Chair.
Councillor Neal.
Approve the application with the conditions, Chair.
Councillor Cowell.
I approve, Chair.
And Councillor Burston.
I approve.
So that application has been approved. Thank you. So moving on to the next item this evening, which is application P191173. Sorry, I'm just looking at the screen. Yeah, so is there anything that the committee would like to ask the officers regarding this application? Any photos they may want to see or anything?
I think it'd be good to have a full. Oh, hang on.
Councillor Taylor.
Yes, I would like to see the presentation. I can't visage where it is. I'm just trying to find it on my Google Maps, but I'd like to see the presentation where it is and the site. Yes, please.
Thank you, Councillor Taylor. Emily, have you got any pictures that you could put up, please?
Yes, of course, I have, Chair. The application before you relates to vacant land at the west of Hickman Street to Timmis Road, Bagley Street, Lye. It seeks consent for the erection of 17 dwellings with associated access from Bagley Street, Lye. A number of objections have been received to the application. However, the application is before Development Control Committee due to representing a departure from the Black Country Core Strategy and the Dudley Borough Development Strategy, in that the proposed development would result in the loss of an employment site as designated within the local plan. The local planning authority, however, is satisfied with the evidence submitted to demonstrate that the deliverability of the local plan allocation justifies a departure from this policy. Subsequently, the local planning authority support the release of this designated employment site for the development as residential dwellings. As part of this, the evidence that was provided in support of the application, it's also been demonstrated that the site cannot viably provide affordable housing, and subsequently no affordable housing is proposed as part of this development. As can be seen from the aerial photograph on your screen now, the site is currently vacant and has been such for a significant period of time. The site is bound to the west and the south by residential properties fronting at Bagley Street and Hickman Street, and also Stourbridge Road to the south. To the north, east and partly south, the development is bound by employment land, also forming part of the wider local quality employment area designation. Our officers are satisfied through the delivery of amendments that the development will not have a detrimental impact upon the amenity of adjoining occupiers, particularly those fronting Bagley Street, which you can just see here, the relationship with plot 12, which has been moved to ensure that sufficient separation distances and limited overlooking would arise as a result of the development. In terms of highway safety, amendments have also been received during the course of the application to ensure that the access from Bagley Street is sufficient to ensure that there would be no highway safety concerns in that respect. Bearing in mind the adjoining commercial uses, it's also considered that there will be no detrimental impact in this respect, and further conditions will be sought to ensure that a scheme for the protection of the amenity of future occupiers from these noise sources and also road noise sources will be achieved as part of conditions. Subsequently, the recommendation is to approve planning permission, and I will just show you some photographs of the site now. This is the location of the proposed access taken from within the site. We can just see, look towards here, Bagley Street with the properties that front Bagley Street at the rear. And this is just another view to the properties at the rear of Bagley Street. And then this is looking northwest towards the rear of properties fronting Hickman Street and Bagley Street. This is Hickman Street properties and Bagley Street properties along here. This is looking southwest to properties fronting Stourbridge Road and Hickman Street. And then this is the southern boundary looking towards Stourbridge Road properties. And then we can see here, this is also towards Stourbridge Road and Timmis Road. This is the north of the site towards the adjacent commercial premises. And then this is another view of the commercial premises fronting Timmis Road. We can see here the rear of commercial premises along Timmis Road. And then we can just see here south, towards the south along Stourbridge Road. And that's the photographs. Again, just to reiterate, officers recommend approve planning permission subject to conditions. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Emily. So do any of the councillors on the committee wish to make any comments or ask any questions? Councillor Hanif.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I'm just going to say earlier that I couldn't find the raise your hand button, but I've done it now. Yeah, it's just for clarification, if Emily could mention whether there is an exit to Timmis Road or not, or is it just totally fenced off like on the slide she's shown? Just not very clear with what I've got here.
Yeah, it would be fenced off. The sole access is now just proposed from Bagley Street.
Okay, in and out. Okay.
Councillor Taylor.
Again, I'm looking at this on Google Maps because it's the only thing I've got here to do. Is this right on the bend? Because it looks to be quite a sharp bend, doesn't it? So is this going to impact on the in Bagley Street? It looks as if it's quite a sharp bend. So is this going to, the access on and off, is that going to have any sort of an impact on the traffic? Because it's a well-used road, isn't it? Because it's a back street going into Stourbridge Way, isn't it? Am I not right on that?
Emily, Ian.
I was going to, yeah, would it be possible to bring Ian in on that point? I think he would be better placed to respond. Thank you, Chair.
Yes, through you, Chair. We did a lot of work with the applicant regarding the access, and we looked at the approach speeds, and therefore we required that they did provide a visibility display of 2.4 metres by 59 metres to the right on exit, which is a slightly higher approach speed from that side, and 2.4 metres by 50 metres to the left. It's not on the bend, and the visibility display can be achieved. We also the access has been tracked as well to ensure that the council's large delivery vehicles can get in and out. Also, the internal access has quite a large turning head, so even larger vehicles can exit and access Bagley Street in a forward gear. So we're quite happy with the design of the access, if that clarifies it. Thanks, Chair.
Okay, thank you.
Right, thank you, Ian. Does anybody else have any questions or comments? No, so if we're all happy, I will go to the vote. So Councillor Bradley.
Approved, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Ahmed.
Approved, Chair.
Councillor Hanif.
Yeah, definitely approved, Chair. This one, yeah.
Councillor Harley.
Approve.
Councillor Taylor.
Approved, Chair.
Councillor Neal.
Yes, approve as well, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Cowell.
I approve, Chair.
Thank you. And Councillor Burston.
I approve.
So that application P191173 has been approved. So moving on to the next item of the agenda, to consider any questions from members to the chair where 2 clear days notice has been given to the monitoring officer. Are there any?
No questions, Chair.
Thank you. There ends the meeting this evening. Thank you all.
Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Chair. Take care.
Thank you, Chair.
Thanks, Chair.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair.
Nice and concise.
Thank you, Chair.
Thanks, Chair.